if you have that form, that profile sheet that I showed you with you when you go on your listing appointment and you sit down with your seller and you fill that out, then you're going to have all of this information right in front of you. And all you have to do is come in here and select everything that applies. Now you'll notice most all of these fields are required. And we see amenities. You're always going to have something that you can enter, and you want to be very thorough and select all that apply to your particular listing. Because it is a required field, you need to select at least one, and if none of them apply, you do have none. You can always select none. Approval information. This is referring to, there's an HOA, or is there an application fee? Would they need to interview owner, right? So I'm going to go ahead and say none. And then bedroom description. Select any of these that apply to your listing. Boat dock information. Well, this is a required field, but this particular home doesn't have a boat dock. So you see none is an option, and that is what I have selected. The building style is 1 story. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And you guys are going to have to just come in here and see all of the different options. I don't have time in an 1.5-hour webinar to go through every single thing. Community type, you can select all that apply. If you do select golf community, even though this is not underlined and in bold type, if you selected golf community, then this would become a required field. Construction. So what type of construction? You'll want to check your public records, talk to your homeowner to get that information, and enter whatever applies. Cooling, so the type of air conditioning, whatever is available. And sometimes it's more than one type of cooling system in a home. So enter that information. The dining description, whether or not there's an eat-in kitchen, breakfast bar. You notice you have C remarks. A lot of times we see that people will select C remarks, but then when you go to the remarks, there's nothing in the remarks there. Be very, very sure that if you select C remarks, what I tell people to do is just go ahead and click on the remarks field and go ahead and type in that information. Otherwise, you might forget. Equipment and appliances included. So this is when the new owner moves in, what appliances are still going to be there. Check with your seller and ensure that you're listing out the correct appliance. Don't assume that just because you see them when you go on the listing appointment that the owner is leaving them. That's not always the case. So just check and then select all that apply. Here are your exterior features. So if you had that a built-in gas fire pit, for example, or if you had that fenced yard, the exterior finish, we're just going to say stucco. And then we've got the floor plan type. If there's split bedrooms, you want to indicate that. If it's other, then you would want to state what other means in your remarks section. The flooring. This is where you would select all of the different types of flooring that are in the home. Is there gas? Yes or no? And if there is gas, if you say yes here, then the gas description becomes a required field. So it would be whether or not it's natural or propane. And then here's where you can enter all of the interior features of the home. Go ahead and select all that apply and be as thorough as possible for data accuracy, but also so that your home can be found. Irrigation, if there's any available. Kitchen, if any of these apply. If there's a pantry, a walk-in pantry, again, all of these are things that buyers are looking for. And if there were a guest home, then we would be entering the living square footage for that guest house. The lot description. So is it in a cul-de-sac? Is it in a golf course? Is it just a regular, ordinary lot? Whatever the case may be, you want to select all that apply. The maintenance field refers to any maintenance that is included in the HOA or condo fees. And then this is asking you about the HOA. So is it a condo? Are we dealing with a developer? Is it resident? Is it a resident-owned HOA? Master bath description. When can the new owner take possession? At closing? Maybe at a later time. Again, if you click on see remarks, make sure that you enter the remarks about when that owner can take possession in the remarks fields at the end of the listing form. Any restrictions? And then again, not a required field, but if you've got a paved road or if it's not a paved road, you want to enter that information. What type of roof do we have? And if it's multiple types, then you select everything that applies. Any additional rooms? So this is where you had your rooms tab up here, but if you have additional rooms that aren't listed up there, so this is where you're going to find that home office, which is really important right now, the home office, or maybe there's a loft area. This is where you could enter that information. If you entered a den or a study, you can go ahead and enter that again here just to reinforce that. If the lanai is screened, anything you want to enter here with regard to rooms. If there is a private pool, you would indicate yes or no. If you say yes, then these fields are going to be required. If there's a private spa, you would say yes. And if you do, this becomes required, the spa description. So again, select all that apply. The security field is not required, but it's really a great field for those people that are looking for a guarded, gated community, for example. Sewer assessment. So if the assessment is paid, and of course there's a site that you can go to determine whether or not the assessment fee is paid. You can find that in the public records. If there is a balance there, then you would select unpaid. If you go to that location and see a zero balance, then that means that the assessments would have been paid. Now, sometimes people enter assessment paid or unpaid in an area where this is not even a thing. So for example, in Cape Coral, this is a thing. And again, there's a website that you can go to. I have it bookmarked. It's Cape IMS, where you can determine that. Information that you want to include. Maybe this is going to be an owner agent. If you are selling your own home, you are required to disclose that in the listing. And this would be one place where you could do that, but you would also want to disclose it in the confidential remarks section. Storm protection, maybe there's hurricane shutters or whatever, you can indicate those. Any terms that you're willing to accept for the contract. And then what are we viewing? If we're sitting on the lanai or looking out the back, whatever you're going to see when you look out, can you see? So you want to select whatever would apply here. And again, you can see it's a very, very big field, features. And they're, again, in alphabetical order, so keep that in mind. Water, the type of water, if it's, and then the windows, maybe we have double hung windows or skylights. Is this a waterfront property? Yes or no. If it is, then the waterfront description becomes required. If there's Gulf access, we would say yes, but then the Gulf access type becomes required. If it's a canal, then we would be entering the canal width here. And I'm selecting none because there is no canal. And that's it. That is our features tab. So I'm scrolling up to the top of the listing, and now we're going to hit, and I don't have to scroll, I'm just letting you see how big that field is. Then we're going to financial.